team is targeted to attack Caucasians and black people. The people who are most immune are Ashkenazi Jews and Chinese.
Hello, folks. How are you? Hope you're going all right. By God, it's been an interesting few days around here, I can tell you. Oh, hang on. I'm abusing the microphone. Let me try and put it back in the right spot. There we go. Hopefully that'll work. Yes, so you might have realised the Voice of Freedom channel is off the air. Voice of Freedom has been returned to me today, although I haven't been told about that. I have been able to access it today, and the show appears to be going out on Voice of Freedom right now. It also is going out on None 2K. There are a few other issues, but they have completely deleted, the Voice of Freedom account, which seemed to have some sort of control over another one of my accounts, this None 2K account. So I can't actually get into the studio, if you like, of the None 2K account. It's very strange, very weird. But anyway, it is what it is. I'd like to say hello to everybody on Rumble tonight. And if you see me looking up over here, it's because Davith is saying something, or Scott Lucky, or No One Self Before. That I like that. No One Self Before. Dusty Silk's in there too. So hello. Thank you to you guys who are over there on Rumble. There are obviously quite a few more people who I can see in the chat here. Dave O, I think I started some comments while I was kicking up earlier on. Aussie Sue, God love you. Thank you so much for kicking me off with a sticker tonight. Really appreciate your love and all the things that you do for us here. I was actually really concerned that the channel that I made you one of the admins on was the channel that they got. Well, it would have been, I suspect, one of the channels that they had taken down. But I've had Voice of Freedom returned at this stage. So, yeah, anyway, and you've got a bit of good news too. So happy Friday night, your eldest son Dale and partner Lauren finally waking up. Oh, yeah, they've been on Twitter reading all about it. Well, that'd be the place to find the truth. More e-files now researching. That's what we like to hear. Bloody great. And they couldn't stop apologizing for not listening to you over the years. Wow. Well, that's awesome, Sue. Just tremendous. Bloody great news. You've got to be so happy. It's always good when you get one, let alone two, to turn around. That's bloody great. Dave O, how are you, buddy? Yeah, I'm sorry I'm running a bit late tonight. That is because, in part, I've changed. I'm not quite as prepared as I'd like to be. Otherwise, the show wouldn't have gone to air until 9 o'clock tonight. But I've had something come across my desk today that I've been doing a little bit of research on. Not a lot of it. It's been quite consuming. The stuff that we're going to talk about tonight is, I guess you could say, the stuff of science fiction. But I don't know. Rachel, who is Cat Williams and where do I find them? Cat Williams, as far as I know, is an actress. Could be wrong. An Australian actress. Could be wrong. Chris, if I got a strike for promoting the so-called scam, how come Kate can get them funded by the NDIS? What a bloody great question. What a superb question. Well, the problem that I have had with the appeals process over the weekend is that you get to appeal to a computer. And in fact, I don't even know whether or not they're bothering it. I'm getting one-line answers back, and I'm just going to keep prodding on slow days, I guess, because I can. But, yeah, the Voice of Freedom channel is dead and gone, I would say. So None 2K still available on YouTurd, as is the Voice of Freedom. There is an FBN channel there too, just FBN. You will find FBN, I think I set it up yesterday, on Rumble and on Bitchute as well. Now, Bitchute I can't stream live to. But I will upload the program there more as an archive thing more than anything else. All the programs that were on the Voice of Freedom YouTube channel will, in theory, still be available on the Nun2K channel because they stream exactly the same things at the same times. But I've downloaded the programs that I do using StreamYard, and I have copies of, well, at least the ones I want to hang on to. And I just need the time to go through them, and there might be some reasonable bits to go back and recheck whether or not anything I said 2 years ago is right, wrong, or indifferent. But we'll wait and see. Need a little bit more time. Vids get restricted simply for having the word cannabis in the title. Yeah, that could be the truth. Yep. No, look, I'm sure there are people that are watching this just looking for any opportunity to get us off because we do speak a bit of truth around here and they don't want us talking about it. So I'll be amazed if any of these YouTube channels live beyond tonight. Let's get into it, shall we? I don't have too much by way of, well, not about what I'm going to talk about here, but this is going to be a roundabout conversation. The Sunshine Coast are probably one of, if not at the point of the spear when it comes to smart cities and their planning around smart city and their introduction of the infrastructure for smart cities. In fact, you can go and download their smart city design and outlook. I did actually have, I wonder if I've still got it here. No, that's, yes. Let me just see if I can share this with you for a moment. I've got to say that I was a bit surprised when I started reading what I'm about to show you. If I can find the bloody thing. There you go. Have a look at this. Okay, so this is, if I take it right back up to the top, the white paper, Testing Tech in Paradise, Unleashing the Next Generation of Digital Services on the Sunshine Coast, the Urban Test Bed. So this is the test bed for Australia. Now, there's a whole heap of acknowledgements and yada, 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 yada. Bit of an introduction that will tell you all about this. And in fact, I might send this to Vince and ask him if he can upload that to the website as well. I've also asked him to upload a video, which he may or may not be able to do because it's quite large. But that is also been put on my Facebook page in the last hour or so, and on both the Oz Logic and the Voice of Freedom Telegram channels. I would recommend you go and watch that video. It's 45 minutes. I said I think when I posted on Facebook, it's 20 minutes of great information, and then I hit return, and return bloody posted the thing, and I was going to add to that, and then another 25 minutes of essential information. So all up, she runs about 45 minutes, and Sabrina Wallace, her name is. We're going to talk about it very shortly, but I'll get to it with what I'm talking about to do with here. Now, this document sets up and shows you how this new system they're going to use called Wi-Fi 6 is going to be used. Now, you can see that there is a pit, there is a pole, there is a kiosk. And these kiosks are pretty special. The poles, I have to tell you, are bloody amazing. Now, these poles are simply sensor gathering items, tools. That's all they are. The council is upgrading, and this is what Australia will do, upgrade to Wi-Fi 6. And that allows much faster data transmission. It allows for greater accuracy in things like location services and all those things that people in their smartphones like. It also allows for things like geofencing. Now, if you're not aware of geofencing, then let me tell you that it's something that's been around in the drone flying world for quite some time. DJI, a name you might be familiar with if you fly drones. If you happen to own one of those, you will know all about geofencing because you won't be able to even start your drone in certain areas if you get within a certain range of an airport. and take your drone out of its case and try and turn it on. It'll turn on, it'll power up, it'll sense where it is, get a GPS location, and it will shut down immediately because it knows it can't fly in that airspace. That is geofencing, and it's been around, like I say, for some time. The Sunshine Coast Council here is outlining how the whole system is going to work. But let's get, potentially to what I believe. They're doing a big sell here with it, obviously. Ideal for sporting events. It's mass data. It's great for, everything. Transport management, infrastructure, the whole lot, logistics. Get a load of urban transport. Geofencing and pedestrian safety. Micro-mobility services such as e-scooters and electric bikes present new options for sustainable urban mobility. However, these devices are often used in areas of high pedestrian and vehicular traffic and need to keep both riders and pedestrians safe. And the need to has led service providers to place limitations on the speed of their devices. This speed can be controlled automatically based on the device's location using a technology known as geofencing. This works by determining the device's specific location. That means it can tell whether or not your scooter is on a footpath or on a road. It can tell what speed you're going and set a speed according to what you're on. So it can trim your speed down if you're on the footpath. Geofencing requires highly accurate positioning data, which can be hard to achieve in urban environments using satellite GPS services, because we all know how hard that is. Your phone drops out all the time. Signals from mobile phone towers are not reliable. Testing geofencing services using Wi-Fi 6 network in the Maroochydore city centre provides a unique opportunity to understand the possibilities of this technology while also providing a high-speed communication channel to the riders. Now, I got a question for you. What is the difference between an e-scooter and an electric car? Size, and the fact they've got 4 wheels on a car, and a scooter I think only has 2. Outside of that, there is no difference to an electric scooter and an electric car. So everything I just read to you there about geofencing automatically applies to your car because it will be part of the same Wi-Fi 6 network. If they don't want you taking that vehicle, whether it be a car, a scooter, an electronic bike, or an electronic set of rollerblades, they don't exist yet as far as I know. You won't be going outside your 15-minute city. I can almost hear the rush of fellas running out the door saying, "See, I told you I shouldn't have sold the HQ, love. I'll get the old 202 red motor out of the shed and we'll fire her up. They'll have a hard time fucking with her electronics, I can tell you." And they would. They'd have a very hard time of it. Now, interesting, they're also talking about using this system for crowd management. Don't know if you noticed about that. Now, they're going to talk about it in terms of communications, obviously. Major events, concerts, so people can get more, selfies out or whatever the hell it is. But it will also be about real-time monitoring of people in locations. That's what it is about. So it will know, in theory, the system will know how many people are still hanging around after a concert, or it will alert to people. Let's put it in terms of, what some would term a bit of innocent fun, particularly up here in Queensland on a Saturday night, out in the industrial areas. A few of the boys get together, do a few burnouts, and tear up a few sets of tyres. Nobody gets hurt. Everybody goes home happy and shows off their car. So under this sort of system, it would alert their security to the fact that there are a couple of hundred people in an industrial area late at night, all gathered in one cul-de-sac or up and down two streets or whatever it happens to be. And of course, that will alert the police. Now, you might think that the police will turn up in cars, but they won't. When the first people carrying drones are released to the public, they will be emergency service vehicles. All right, they will be ambulances to get paramedics on site to somewhere very quickly, and the same will be done with the police, only they will be a rapid action force that gets dropped by them. Bear that in mind if you're going out doing drags on a Saturday night somewhere. Anyway, here is all the magnificent things that they want to tell you about why this is going to be so good, and the Internet of Things is your friend. I would not commend you having anything to do with it, but I will ask Vince. I'll forward this to him and ask that he posts it up. I'll do that right now while I'm thinking of it. Yes, I want to do that. Otherwise, it never gets sent. I'll send that to him, and he can post that up on the VoF HQ website if he would be so kind. And you can go through it and have a bit of a read yourself. It is really an interesting, very, very interesting document. But it leads into what I'm talking about here with Sabrina Wallace. Now, I was going to cut down some of her video, and I will have to do that tomorrow because there is too much in her 45-minute video for me to go into tonight without her sort of explaining a bit to it herself. Sabrina claims to have been born of parents who in 1969 were working on classified operations for the US government, for agencies that did things like built the cars for the Men in Black. And I don't mean the movie. She is, well, I'll let her explain it herself. Go and have a look at those at this video. But she explains herself as a hybrid who has been born with certain abilities, and she has a great understanding of electromagnetism, a great understanding of maths and physics, and is, well, a hell of a storyteller. It can be a bit hard to get into initially, but I would urge you, go to my Facebook channel. If you've got me on Facebook, go on tomorrow, go and check out vofhq.com. Hopefully Vince will have it posted up. He'll probably have it posted up by the end of the show. But go and have a look at this video. It's 45 minutes long, and it will scare the living hell out of you. I want to talk about your aura. Could your aura be classified as an electromagnetic body part, do you think? What do you know about your aura? I don't know much about it. I know that it tends to change color depending on what mood you're in, that kind of thing. But I don't know too much more outside of that. I certainly can't see my aura, nor anybody else's, but I appreciate that there are people around us who can see auras. I do believe I've met one or two, and I find it an extremely interesting topic. If it's not an electromagnetic body part, what would our aura be? I can't think of it being anything else. So, given that it is an electromagnetic body part, and we have had coerced or lied into us some nanoparticles that are able to be controlled by Wi-Fi, by frequency, could our aura be our protection against all of this? And this is in part what they have been trying to keep from us. Our knowledge of the aura as an actual body part, an electromagnetic body part of our own. Now, these nanoparticles that David Nixon is doing some amazing research into, these nanoparticles, we've been struggling to figure out where they get power from, because they do self-assemble. So for that, they need power. They need to get it from somewhere. What if they're getting their power, which is only very minuscule, what if the power the power that they need is able to be gained through use of our aura and the iron minerals in our own bodies? What if that was able to produce just the little bit of power that was required to get those nanos doing whatever movement they have to do? And we've seen it. Go and have a look at David Nixon's work if you haven't seen it. It is amazing, scary, frightening stuff. But we were struggling to find a power source. It's our own body's minerals, and potentially the electromagnetic effect of our own body that could be doing that. So if we accept that the aura has an electromagnetic effect, could this be where we get that feeling of danger, or when something, people get that feeling of being watched, or the hair stands up on their arms or the back of their neck? Could that be a further sense or sensor for our bodies? I believe it probably could be. Given that these evil bastards have known how to manipulate electromagnetic fields since, back in the 80s, but, I think with great ability and great skill since probably the late noughties, shouldn't we be a bit concerned about where this whole direction of things will go? 5G about to come into our lives. Well, has come into our lives, and we are seeing weird things happen. People dropping dead when they drive past these transmitters. We've had an ambulance driver confirm that a certain stretch of road that contains 2 5G transmitters that were only turned on, it would be 2022 now. And since they were turned on, they have had more accidents in a certain zone area on that road than ever before, from people who are all jabbed up. It hasn't been the unjabbed who've caused the accidents. It's been those jabbed who've had strokes or heart attacks or whatever. Now, if they can manipulate the electromagnetic field, as we believe that they can, and they know how to manipulate your magnetic field, they can dial up your DNA. They have you as a MAC address if you're jabbed. But I believe they've probably got us all at some way, shape, or form somewhere. But if you've been jabbed, you're now just a MAC address. They are getting all your life signs. They know exactly where you are, what you're eating, how long you're sleeping, what your stress state's like, absolutely everything about you. And if they want to get a good look at you, they can turn on any device you own and have it look at you and, eavesdrop on you. It can be done. You'd have to really, strike their attention to be doing all this. They would even have the ability, given that they have a DNA connection to you, they could induce a stroke. They could induce a heart attack. They could induce a blood clot. It's all pretty Star Trek-y stuff, don't you think? Smarter minds than me have been part of that. Now, I'm pretty confident in this Sabrina Wallace I've only had the opportunity to go through the 45 minutes of it once. So I commend it to you with all your spidey senses tingling. All right? Have a good look at it. Don't just believe what she's saying. Rationalize. Think about it. Think of why they would do such a thing. And what could they do if such a thing had actually been done? Because I'm pretty confident we can guarantee it's been done. Some of the things that we're referring to here is the ability, and you might have heard of the Thin Man horror stories that kids are telling after they've murdered their parents, particularly in America. The Thin Man told them to do it. There are, we've all heard stories of, I heard voices in my head, they were telling me to do it. This is something that can actually be done. They can project voices into your head. The technology to do this has been around for some time. They just haven't told us about it. More and more. I mean, what are we? Start of the third week of 2024. How many revelations have we had just since New Year? How many did we have in the week between Christmas and New Year? How many more were there in the week leading up to Christmas? So I see that there is much more shaking of the world, much more violent shaking of the world going, even though to us it seems quite passive. We are well into the book, folks. They're trying to wake up people who haven't even picked the book up yet. And to that end, on Saturday afternoon, a lot of people in Brisbane, I'm sure, pardon me, saw this. I went out about 3:15. It was a beautiful Brisbane day, not a cloud in the sky. There was a bit of a breeze blowing. It wasn't too hot. I mean, it was warm, but it wasn't too hot. The humidity was down for once. And right over the top of our house and heading straight into over the top of Brisbane City was this jet dumping out a huge chemtrail. Now, I don't know. I looked it up and later found out that it was an Air New Zealand flight from Auckland to Singapore, apparently at 40,000 feet. I think it was at 40,000 feet when I had time to go back and look at the data, but I haven't gone back and looked at the actual track. I think it was a lot lower than that because I could practically see this stuff coming out of the back of this aircraft. It also helped that they turned it off or changed tanks or did something because it stopped in a way that, well, contrails don't stop, and then coughed into life again with a couple of little splutters and clouds, and then off it went again. Now, somebody has today informed me that if you're seeing chemtrails broken in the sky like that, it's because they're trying to create fluffy clouds, not one great long solid cloud bank. They're trying to create fluffy clouds. Look, I don't know, in large numbers of them. I don't know if that's the case. It doesn't ring true with the information that I've shown you here on the Voice of Freedom before, where once this stuff is sprayed into the atmosphere, it doesn't, contrail stands for condensation. It evaporates. We've shown quite clearly that whatever is coming out of the back or out of the wings of these aircraft isn't evaporating, it's spreading. And it's leaching through the air, almost like fingers looking for moisture. And it's taking whatever moisture it can. And if there does happen to be any clouds in the area, then yes, it does reach into them and then pull moisture from them to give itself more substance. And this is how the whole thing keeps building. So they're not hiding the chemtrails from us anymore. I will tell you that, probably for the last 3 months, Cooker Watch has been wanting to come on and have a conversation with me about chemtrails versus contrails. There is no such thing as chemtrails, according to Cooker Watch, and they're certainly not trying to kill us if they are. So I furnished her with a couple of paths to go down. This was 3 months ago. May not have been 3 months ago, but sometime in the last sort of that time frame. We've had a couple of conversations. Bear in mind, I don't have her number. She calls me. Every time we've spoken recently, and there's been one conversation recently, I went to bring it up. She said, "Oh, I don't want to talk about that right now. Don't want to talk about that." I forget now what it was she did want to talk about, but I was very interested in talking about chemtrails because it's more and more information daily is coming out. I've sent her information on the laws, and I say that in inverted commas, that have been put into place by not only our government, but world governments and the UN about it. And in the last couple of days, I have been sent some links for an aircraft company that will lease you weather modification aircraft. I shit you not. So I can't type and talk at the same time. Give me 1 second. I'll see if I can bring it up here. Maybe I've spelled something a bit wrong. Okay. I will have to try and find that another night and show it to you then. But there is a weather modification site that tells you everything you need to know. It will supply the aircraft for you. Anything from a Cessna to a jet, whatever you need, it can supply anywhere in the world, anytime. And no such thing as weather modification. They're not spraying us. Well, they are. And they have been for some time. Phil, yes. Cougar Watch did indeed have breast cancer. I don't think I'm letting the cat out of the bag. I think she's speaking about it publicly. She did ring and tell me that. I have known this for some time. She asked me not to make it public for obvious reasons, because it had nothing to do with her getting jabbed, and she didn't want to make it seem like that. At least that's what she told me, and I have no reason to doubt that. And of course, I respected her wishes that she didn't want me to make it public, so I didn't. I have seen she has since done so, so I guess there's no harm in me saying, yes, she had breast cancer, and as far as I'm aware, is clear currently and is recovering, still getting over the treatment. Never fails to amaze me that one doctor tells you you've got cancer and the way to kill it is to kill you with chemo, or those sorts of things. It's just weird, and I'm sure that there are other answers to that, as many natural followers are very well aware of. He says, looking around for his envelope containing, well, you know what it's containing, don't you? Yeah. All right, so let me go up here and have a bit of a look and see what you've had to say tonight, folks. I've been talking now for, what, buddy, 36 minutes non-stop. What an interesting thing you bring up there, Zeb. Yes, now that you've articulated that, I identify just like that. I seem to find these people, and I feel others that I don't want to have anything to do with. So, yes, that's a really, really good observation there, Zab. Thoughts on JFK Jr. being on the Epstein documents. I haven't seen the latest drop of Epstein documents. JFK Jr. mentioned on there. Wouldn't be at all surprised. I would be very surprised if he was ever at Epstein Island. Trump was on there too, but those flights were only Boston, New York, Florida, I want to say, from memory. And they were, I mean, Epstein wasn't even on the flight. It was just for family, basically shifting them around. JFK Jr. may have been something similar. So unless he's actually named as on the flight logs to Epstein Island, I wouldn't be too concerned at this stage about anything like that. That would be my take on that. Agate Master, been pissing rain for the last 4 days up north. I know. I was talking to Rob from Brothers Gold Mining, and they're up north of Cairns, north of, well, they're just south of Cooktown and, you know, not far from Palmer River. They've had a phenomenal amount of rain, a lot of damage, a lot of road damage up there. They were without power from before Christmas to apparently not all that long ago, only a week or so ago. They have had a huge amount of rain. They have had trees down. And trees down in their own front yard. Now, I actually rang and spoke to Rob and his wife just before Christmas, as Jasper was making its way toward the coast on the morning of its, you know, supposed arrival. The phones were still up. The power had just been turned off. They turned the power off in far north Queensland. I suppose they've got to decide to do that at some point. Otherwise, you're going to have live wires flashing around all over the ground, and they don't want any of that. However, they, on the Bureau of Meteorology's either advice or lack of it, I'm not sure which, they turned the power off at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. When there really was no need to turn it off then. The thing hadn't come through, and didn't come through until much later. So people could have had power, you know, a bit longer. As it turned out, it threw a lot of damage. And while the Bureau were telling us, I think it was a Category 2 when it came across, where it is up there, folks believe it was a much larger cyclone than a Category 2. There has been a lot of, well, what's the word? Disinterest, skepticism in the Bureau of Meteorology's predictions for any kind of weather recently, and they are quite right to be skeptic, the people. The Bureau doesn't seem to know what's going to happen where, when, or why, when other privately funded, shall we say, weather agencies have got a finger all over it. And I mean more than a finger all over it. James Murray. This is one forecast model for a proposed Category 5 cyclone late next week, right here in Queensland. Now, that's going to come in, they predict somewhere between Townsville and Ayr. That is going to make all of Queensland very, 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 very wet. Can I say very any more times? Very, very, very wet. What happens when things get very, 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 very wet? These funny little beams start appearing out of nowhere. See that one on the left-hand side there? It seems to be emanating out of Moree or somewhere up towards the border. That's a fairly interesting beam, don't you think? Have you noticed anything else about the weather? No weather crosses that beam. It's like it's put up a wall. Okay? And the prevailing weather winds are keeping the weather system, the rains that you see over southeast Queensland and down to Port Macquarie, Kempsey Way, keeping them in one position, keeping them over in that sort of range, in that area. Because the winds today were onshore. All of that cloud mass should have been blown inland, but it wasn't. It was kept along the coast. This is the kind of thing they can do with these emitters that they have now. And they're not just on the land. They have them on the sea. And I'm not completely sure they don't have them in aircraft. Although I wouldn't like to be flying any of those aircraft. A lot of radiation, a bit like there will be in Maroochydore, around Maroochydore City Centre. With all of the new smart technology going in there. Did I mention I did? I think I told you about the poles. All right. Well, those poles have the ability to run 6 Wi-Fi 6 cables. That's 6 ultra high speed data cables into each light. Now that's a street light we're talking about. Why would they want to run anything other than power into a street light, you say? Well, because that street light is going to monitor absolutely everything. Those street lights can have all sorts of sensors put on them, from facial recognition to body scanning to God knows whatever else. And what do you need to have all that happen? You need a high-speed, very, very accurate Internet of Things to put it all together, and an AI system to run it. Coming to a smart city near you, but if you want to go and try it out, go to Maroochydore right now. Now, if you happen to have one of those trimeters, I don't have one, unfortunately. They're about $400, and it's just money I don't have to spend at the moment. But if you happen to have one, I would love you to go for a bit of a walk around the new Maroochydore City Centre with that trimeter and get near some of those lights. Let's just see what sort of readings they're putting out, because I have no doubt there will be vast amounts of radiation coming out of those things, vast amounts. They will be putting off energy like you wouldn't believe. I am working, I shouldn't say that. No, I won't say that. Might be able to get some pictures in the not too distant future, I hope, of these lights. Just the pictures will be taken in a different spectrum, and I'm told that those pictures are extremely eye-opening if you get to view them in a certain spectrum. So working on that, hopefully sooner rather than later, but we'll see what happens. I've got a couple of other things I wanted to show you tonight. There has been a myocarditis study, Australia's largest ever, found that 54.8% of patients had ongoing symptoms, significantly abnormal cases at the 6-month follow-up after that thing that we all had to go through, pain in the ass. There has been a lot of UFO sightings recently. Here's an interesting one.
Look! Yo, what's going on in Florida, yo? 2024 just begun, and I got 4 videos of sightings of just weird happenings going on.
That's weird. What about this one?
Você consegue captar as vibrações. Vem até nós. Ou não vem à noite.
This is apparently a couple of aliens walking in the hills in Brazil. Yeah. I mean, they don't... Yep. Okay, probably zoomed the camera in as far as it's going to go there, but there you go. All I would still tell you, folks, is just be careful what you watch.
Oh, no.
See what I mean? Just be careful what you watch. I do have... I've got some longer videos here. They're probably a bit long to play tonight. I will cut them down. But there is some important information coming out from the German member for the European Parliament. She has made a
I'm very
big
curious
statement.
what your opinion is on 15-minute cities. This is something that I guess it's a new idea that we're only beginning to hear about. Maybe you can actually remind us what they are. And I understand they're coming in Europe now. There's legislation pushing in that direction already.
Yes, it is. The digital green certificate, the COVID pass, that was a test balloon to get people to having to produce some kind of a QR code, just getting people used to that. Now what they're slamming us with is these 15-minute cities. Make no mistake, it's not about your convenience. It's not that they want you to be able to, have all of these places that you need to get to very close. And it's not about saving the planet either, by the way. The 15-minute cities, they will have to have those before they can lock you down. And that's what we're talking about here. So in Great Britain, some county already passed legislation. They will be able to impose a climate lockdown. That's the next step. That's what we're talking about. So in order to do that, they will have to have these 15-minute cities. The next step then, of course, will be you are only allowed to leave your immediate area for, let's say, 2 or 3 times a year. So, but there's other people that may have more money, and they can actually buy your passings off of you. So guess what? The poor people will be left in these 15-minute neighborhoods, while the ones that are better off get to go wherever they want to go. So this is what we're talking about, you know. Look at Saudi Arabia, for instance. They're pulling up Neom City. They call it the Line. So this is like a structure in the middle of the desert, 200 kilometers long, 200 meters wide, 500 meters high, and it will house up to 9 million people. Oh, isn't that just brilliant? If I wanted to get total control of the people, that's exactly where and how I would house them. And then having them on a 3 meals a day prescription, well, guess what will happen if you do not do as you are told? They will probably cancel that. It's so easy. So that's what we're talking about. And when you really take all of this together, there is no other way for me to actually say this. It will be a complete impoverishment and enslavement of all the people.
She makes it fairly clear, doesn't she? So I just wish to God we had Australian politicians with as much balls. I suppose some might argue Malcolm Roberts, maybe Antic, maybe Rennick. I don't know. Remains to be seen. Ricardo has been speaking in interesting terms about Craig Kelly, about Mike McCabe, and in fact sent Mike McCabe a text message asking if he was considering suing Ricardo for defamation for calling him a CIA agent or working for the CIA. Interestingly enough, Mike said no. Take that for what you will. There is no great new news in what Ricardo said the other day in calling out who he did. Although the fact that he named Craig Kelly and I'm pretty confident allegedly called him a pedophile, not in so many words, I'm paraphrasing, but he used a very descriptive term from memory. I would wonder if Craig Kelly would be taking up arms against Ricardo lawfully and trying to sue him for defamation, because it's unlawful to go around saying things about people, particularly that could be quite damaging things about people, unless you have the proof to back yourself up. And of course, if you happen to be the person that's having all that truth told about them and you just want the whole thing to go away, you're going to probably not want to go to court. Because in a defamation case, the person who feels they've been defamed doesn't have to prove their innocence. The person who said whatever it is that they said did the defaming. They have to prove that what they said is true. Be the last thing you'd want if you were a pedophile, wouldn't it? To get that person into court if they could prove you were a pedophile. Just saying. So I don't know. Maybe Craig Kelly will come out. Maybe he's having conversations with his legal teams. I don't know. Maybe there are others Ricardo is planning on releasing names for next week, maybe, or this week. I'm not sure when he shows on. Will he do it? I don't know. What will they do? I don't know. But if they do nothing and he does nothing, what benefit is there to us about it? And if we are to do something, then what it is that we are meant to do. Because once again, we the people, I do feel we are on the right side of this, but we have no enforcement arm to back us up. Bit of a conundrum, hey kids? All right, listen, I'm going to love you and leave you tonight. There is a few things that popped up in the questions, or not in the questions. I start a few things. Oh, yeah. Now, Wacko. Yep, love a copy of that. Please send it to me, carl@vofhq.com. I know Queensland, I know the federal government, well, every state has an agreement to allow this to happen. So, yeah. Sick bastards. That's all I can say. I also saw a comment there from someone who said that they hadn't seen that strange material, let's call it, on their windows since I think July 2023 was said. That could be a good thing. I've got a whole heap of it up there that we're going to go and get tested just as soon as I can find someone brave enough to put their name to saying they tested it. It is rather frustrating that, there isn't anybody around like that. I'm pretty disappointed, but it is what it is. Okay, let me have a bit of a glance here. Queensland's being flooded. Yep, they're gonna flood us, and it's gonna head south. So people of Lismore, people in the hills, Ebbs and Co. Just for God's sake, be careful. All that water is still going to come down. Our backyard at the moment is sodden. I mean, we've got good drainage, and when I say we, Sharon, who owns the place, has got good drainage. I went and cleared out the drains last week and got rid of everything that was, stopping them up. And our back lawn is holding probably a centimetre of water in most parts of it at the moment. There is just, it can't go into the ground. It's full up. And that, I fear, is southeast Queensland, folks. The water is, the ground is full up. Now, I haven't seen it quite like this since 2011, when they geoengineered a storm that stayed over the entire east coast for 4 days. And I think at one stage on the Gold Coast, I was living at that time, we got something like half a metre of rain in 9 hours in the area that I was in. Absolutely stunning. Okay, well, it's not as bad as what Rob got up at his place. They've had over half a metre there, and out at the mine, they've had over 2.5 metres out in the Palmer. So there's a lot of water in those rivers there at the moment. If you're thinking about going up the Telly track or something like that, you won't be going up there for a while. And I dare say there's going to be a few more hurdles at those crossings by the time you get there, because it's been a big wet up north. And it looks like it's going to get bigger, particularly if this Category 5 cyclone that they are beginning to predict could be Category 5 by the end of next week. That's going to make it for a very interesting time for folks, because the roads already suffering, the water, the grounds are already sodden, and I'm pretty confident that's for all of Queensland. So where does this water have to go? Where will it go? Well, it's just going to rise, isn't it? So expect more floods on the way, folks. Try and get as high as you can if that comes your way. David, what have you got? You can remember when they said the technology to send signals down the power cables. Yes, yeah, they were initially going to use the power cable network. They were actually going to use that too for Optus. Remember Optus TV? There'll be many people who remember Optus setting up in opposition to Telstra, and in fact Foxtel. It wasn't called Fox, or it was called Foxtel in capital city areas, but outside in the regionals it was called something else. Ozstar. Well, I think that was all they were all mixed in together there at one stage from memory. Sunflower, God love you. No, we do not consent, my darling, not at all. Zab, thank you so much for your sticker too. And thank you to everybody who ordains to help us out at the Voice of Freedom and the Freedom Broadcasting Network. We're indebted to you and always in need. So if you do happen to have $1 or $2 you can share with us and you'd like to become a member, we would love to have you on board. Some exciting things coming up this year for our members, and our membership, bronze membership, starts at $1.25 a week. So most people can sort of drag that together, but if you can't do that, maybe you'd just like to make a one-off donation, then we have our donate button at vofhq.com as well. Hopefully Vince will have uploaded a couple of those things that I've spoken about tonight, and if he hasn't done it yet, he will get it sorted in the not too distant future. Good on you, Stu. Bats in the Belfry, I was thinking there for a minute. J1, how are you, mate? Carl at vofhq.com will get me. Carl at vofhq.com. Bosie is a warrior. I wouldn't doubt that one for a second. I think Sunflower, he would love them. I think he would love them to drag him to court. But doesn't that, the reason, I mean, he would love to be taken to court for this, because I'm sure he believes he has the proof. And if he does, God love him. So why wouldn't Craig Kelly instigate this? Why wouldn't, backed by Clive's money, because he still works for him, I think, why wouldn't Kelly try this? Oh, it'll give Bosie too much promotion. It'll hit the mainstream and da 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 da. Well, no, we already know the Black Hats are still controlling the mainstream. If they don't want the mainstream to have it, the mainstream won't have it. It'll just go on in a courtroom, and you'll only ever hear about it if Bosie loses. But what if he can't lose? What if he has the proof? Or what if he has enough evidence to make it inconclusive? I think he'd probably lose in that case. But my question is, why wouldn't Craig Kelly instigate those proceedings today, yesterday, last week? And I don't want to see Ricardo, taken to court unnecessarily. But I think you're right, Sunflower. He wants them to take him to court. I want them to take him to court. But they just don't seem to be interested in doing that. And they use the excuse that it will give too much publicity to them. Well, I don't think that cuts it. I don't think that works. The publicity is already there for the likes of Ricardo, for me, for Dave, for anybody on these sorts of platforms. We're preaching to the converted. I mean, unless all of you are going out, every day and bringing somebody in by hand, a complete newbie, to sit down and watch the show for the first time and convince them to come on board, then, we're all friends here. We're all family. God, look at the chat. We're all family. So we need to get a bit of new blood in here to try and convince them that, to come and join our family. I think that's pretty much where we're at. So Donna, I see on the Rumble channel, Donna, he did slam them all pretty hard. And in fact, he named all of them with different things. And in fact, he spoke about Pauline Hanson and her 14 years of service, where she has not talked about anything to do with child trafficking or pedos or the 28 or anything like that either. And how he believes they may have something over her. Well, I'm sure they'd have to have something over her, because I do remember Pauline coming out of the fish and chip shop I do remember her being very vocal, and while she had a voice that could have the black on a blackboard drip off when you were listening to it, oh God, it sends shivers down your spine. What she was saying was something many Australians at the time were feeling, and she garnered a huge amount of support in a very, very short period of time. Now, both major parties shit themselves, and then one of them got nasty and had her locked up. I don't know what happened I think she was in 9 months. Maybe it wasn't 9 months. Maybe it was a bit shorter than that. But for whatever length of time she was in, and it was a reasonable period, maybe they got to it then. Maybe something happened then. Maybe, I don't know. She came out, took her a while to get back into the swing of things, had to go with Queensland government, and I think got in from memory, and then went back to federal. Well, that Michael Oldfield might have had something to do with her undoing. I've got a sneaking suspicion. But will we ever find out? God, I hope we find out. But it's a big ask. So, yeah. Dingo. Jeez, thank you so much for your stickers, mate. Appreciate it so much. I'm sorry that the show was a bit late tonight, folks. I hope you've gained a little bit of information out of this one. I won't hold you up because I know in the southern states it's after 10 now, so I'll let you go. But Vince has put everything that I requested up on the website before the end of the show. So if you haven't already done so, please go to vofhq.com. Become a member while you're there. Give us a donation if you can while you're there. Vince won't kick me now because I've mentioned it twice. And go and have a look at that video that I've uploaded, or Vince has uploaded, from Sabrina Wallace, I think her name is. You're going to want to watch it a couple of times. She speaks very quickly. The diagrams she holds up can be hard to follow. Be ready to pause them. Be ready to go back. You might want to watch it a couple, but look, watch it once through, and you'll get an idea of what we're in for in the future, folks, unless we can stop it, because it will only be through we, the people, that this sort of tyranny stops. It'll only be through we, the people, that our sort of patriotism wins over the day and the evil bastards get what's coming to them. It is only through we, the people, folks, that we win this war. You've heard about making America great again. Why don't we make truth great again? Because at the moment, there are so many lies, particularly from our politicians, and especially from our bureaucrats. Why don't we make truth, accountability, responsibility great again? Tell you what, if we can get truth and responsibility made great again, who knows? We might even clean up a few of those dickheads on the roads.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's rock!